we're gonna run this election of who possibly could have ran at this time period for the presidency. First off, we know who wins. Who wins?
George Washington.
So where does that tell us he has to be on this spectrum? In the middle, because most Americans will vote for the people in the middle. So GW is right in the middle. This is where our moderates are. Is there anybody else that could possibly be a moderate? Franklin. Why would y'all say Benjamin Franklin would be a moderate? He compromised, but he's too old and too indisposed that he's not going to run. Okay. So who are some other people we know of this time period who could possibly run for the presidency?
Hamilton.
Okay, so Hamilton. Where would we put Hamilton? Is he a liberal or conservative?
No.
Okay, think about
Then
the.
conservative.
Yeah,
He's
then conservative.
then conservative, right? Did he write the Federalist Papers?
Yes.
And those conservative documents were all about the Constitution and protecting it, right?
Mhm.
So Hamilton is way out here. Tell me some other people who wrote the Federalist Papers.
John
James
Jay.
Madison. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where would y'all put John Jay? Is he on the conservative or liberal side? And then Madison's over here. Okay, who are some other people who possibly could have ran?
Jefferson.
What do y'all think Jefferson is? Liberal,
Liberal.
conservative? Liberal. Is he way out here? No. Can y'all tell me any guys that are way out here, liberal, causing rebellion?
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Which Adams?
John Adams.
If he's a liberal, tarring and feathering,
No, Sam.
that was Sam. Sam Adams is over here. Where would John Adams be? John Adams is over here. Alright. Where do y'all put Thomas Paine, who's encouraging people to rebel, to have their own rights? Where would y'all put him? Thomas Paine. What about Henry Knox, who wanted a big military?
Yeah, he was Secretary of War.
Big government, big military, where would y'all put that? Okay, so this first election goes and they unanimously, everybody in the Electoral College gives their votes to George Washington. The problem here is that, do we have a vice president?
No.
The way Electoral College worked, because we did not have parties, whoever got the most votes is president, whoever got the second most votes is,
Vice President.
so they had to rerun the election. So George Washington will become president, right? They rerun it, and they vote for who to be his vice president? John Adams. Okay, and this, I'm gonna eventually go over stuff, but look at this. This is the first four presidents. George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Madison. It goes like this because they're the closest to the middle. Again, we always vote. If there was someone today saying that they were gonna be liberal with people and entitle people to their rights, but be fiscally conservative with your money, would most people vote for them? Yeah, because it's a blend of liberal and it's a blend of conservative. And so this is why these guys were liked. One of the things you have to also realize, people who are running in politics today, are all those guys gonna get the nomination to be president? Like, even when Trump was running, he ran against some good people, right? Like Rick Perry. Rick Perry didn't become president, but did he get an appointment?
Sure did.
Yeah, he sure did. He became a cabinet member. He became the Secretary of Energy. Do y'all know Ben Carson?
Yeah.
Ben Carson was running against him. Didn't he get an appointment?
Yeah, he was
Okay, so
Um,
this, you have to understand that the people who are running in the Democratic hopefuls, they all realize that they will not all become president, but in the end, they will all aid. Even when Obama was running against Hillary, did he appoint her to a high position? Secretary of State. And so it all comes from Washington's inauguration. And I know that looks really weird that he's being inaugurated in April, We mostly know presidents inaugurated in January, but I have to get to the 20th Amendment. So Washington's inaugurated, and the first thing on Hill's study guide, it said, was the cabinet establishment constitutional? I had a lot of yeses and a lot of nos. Yes and no. Okay? Yes and no. Let me explain this. In the Constitution, it says the president can have a vice of heads of state. Is he going to appoint some people? And he's going to make it a formal institution. Was that in the Constitution? No. So the cabinet, was it constitutional? Yes, for advice, but permanent? No. And so he's going to take advice from heads of state. And some of these people on this list are going to make the list. Is he going to take from these liberal people?
No.
Because the Constitution was a conservative counter-revolution against these people, right? So who is he going to appoint as his Secretary of State? Thomas Jefferson. Who is he going to appoint as his Treasury? Who is he going to appoint as his Secretary of War? Okay, so I've already taken this guy off, this guy off, this guy off, right? Madison will become the Speaker of the House. John Jay, y'all should have seen this. Wait, I'm going to go to John Jay in a second. Madison promised, he wrote what? What did he promise to those states that were really upset about the Constitution? A Bill of Rights. Madison, when he's the Speaker of the House, will get that done. On question 2, it asks, how were the Anti-Federalists, what did they criticize about it? It lacked the guarantees of a Bill of Rights, right? On the third thing, well, he's going to have to pass all of these amendments in the House, and to get them done, it needed to get either 2/3 of the states to agree to it, or 2/3 of both houses. It will happen that way. And on question 4, it says the Judiciary Act of 1789 created the court system. It created the Supreme Court, the justices that go with it. There's a Chief Justice and 5 justices. John Jay will become the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. So y'all got 1, 2, 3, and 4 now. Right. So the guy that has the biggest problem here, is it the Secretary of State, Treasury, or War? Treasury. He has big problems. And this is why I've given you a separate sheet of paper that has all of his problems and all of his solutions. Right, do y'all see this one? It says Hamilton's financial program. Because Hamilton is facing huge problems. The first thing is that we're facing a national debt. We're facing a national debt, both foreign and domestic. And I want you to tell me, who do we owe money to? Right, France from what?
The revolution.
American Revolution. Who else do we owe? We owe England, specifically in England, the merchants. Who do we owe here at home? The what? The soldiers, the veterans. Who are these people that we read about? Shays' Rebellion. Who else do we owe here at home? The Loyalists. In the Treaty of Paris, we had to pay back damages. Okay, if you don't pay people back, could they rise up? Okay, so we've seen that with Shays' Rebellion. Do we want to see France fight us for the money we owe them? And so, Hamilton said that remember in Shays' Rebellion, could the government pay all these guys back? So the government went to the soldiers, right? And they were like, we don't have money now because we can't tax our people. We're going to give all of you soldiers these IOUs and we'll pay you later. They gave one to Jose. Jose goes home. Is his wife happy that the government owes him $1,000? Does that pay for his house? Does that pay for his taxes? Does that put food on the table for him and his kids and his dog and his fish? No. Okay? So Jose is sitting there and his wife upset with him. Okay? So then he has a problem because he needs money now, right? But is this paper going to give him money now? So, this is like, an IOU is like a stock, like you lend money to businesses, they'll pay you back. So does this have value? Yeah, right, but not at this moment, right? So he wants to get his money, but can he go to the government to get the $1,000? So he's gonna sell this to someone who's a rich man, Emmanuel. But do you think Emmanuel wants to pay the $1,000 that it's worth? So how much do you think he pays him? He says 500, and Jose, is he willing to take it? He goes on his merry way with that 500, happy wife, happy life, right? He has money now. Now this guy, Emmanuel, who had the money, is now sitting on this. But Hamilton's plan says, if you are holding these certificate of indebtedness, these IOUs, they will be paid back in full original value. And this was question number 6 on your study guide. What is funding at par? This is question 6. Funding at par means pay back the full original value. Is Jose upset? Why is he upset?
He doesn't get the full value.
He doesn't get the full 1,000. Who gets the full 1,000? The rich dude, right? Is Emmanuel happy?
Yes.
Why is he happy?
Because
He just doubled his money, right? Let's go down here. The payments, and this is the opposition to Hamilton's plan. The payment of the certificate of indebtedness at full value would enrich the speculators. This is what you should have had on 6, the second part. A lot of you told me the farmers, the veterans, and I don't know who else. Y'all told me a lot of different things. Okay? It should have been speculators. Is Jose happy with the funding at par? No, he is upset. But Emmanuel, are you happy? You just doubled your investment. Okay? So, are we going to see who's going to support Hamilton? Is it going to be the speculators or is it going to be the farmers, like, let's say, the speculators? So is it going to be the rich or the poor? Okay, let's go to our second one. The second one says the assumption of state debts. He said, and we saw this on our study guide, that Hamilton felt that the assumption of the state debts was a national obligation. He's talking about $21.5 million he's assuming. Is that a lot of money to take on?
Yeah.
So I got to talk about a relationship you have with your parents. Do your parents incur your debts? Do they pay for them? Yes. So do you have to listen to them? And this is his whole reasoning. He says, if we assume the state debts, this would chain the states to the national government, right? And it would strengthen the national credit and force the states to listen to who? To listen to the federal government. Is this making the federal government stronger?
Yes.
Okay, so there's states, and y'all should have seen this one on 7, right? It would chain them more tightly to the federal chariot. If I look down at 2 right here, the assumption of state debts would be unfair to those states who had already paid their debt. The ones who like the assumption, which you should have seen on the second part of 7, a lot of you told me Virginia, Massachusetts, you listed out states. I just wanted to know the states who liked the assumption. These were the states burdened with debt. The ones who did not like it were states with small debt, such as Virginia. So what is going to be done to appease Virginia because it's paid off all its debt? They moved the capital to the Potomac River. They move it to Virginia and Maryland on the Potomac, and this is how we get the capital of DC. Okay? So do y'all get number 2? The only reason why the capital was there was because Virginia had paid off its debts. Before this, the capital was floating, not in the air. It was just moving around. It would be in New York one year, Charleston another year, Annapolis another year, Philadelphia another year. But now they're giving it a permanent residency here because Virginia was upset with the assumption of the debt. Okay, next thing. I want you to think about question 8. It says, why did Hamilton feel the national debt was a blessing? I know this is where it got in my other class. Okay, if I owed you money, do you want to see me continue teaching and having a job?
No.
Yes, so I could what?
Oh, okay.
I could pay you back, right?
Personal stake.
Alright, so what happens if y'all found out I lost my job tomorrow? Would you be scared? Well, not because you want me to teach you, but you're more concerned about what? Money, and if I lost my job, am I gonna be able to pay you back? No, okay? And so this is why Hamilton felt debt was a blessing. Because if I owed you money, do you wanna see me be a good teacher and continue teaching? And if the rich, if the government owes them, right, and they're holding all of this debt from the government, do the rich people want to see our government go well and be successful?
Yeah.
So that's why he said debt was a blessing. Debt is a blessing because is it going to get people backing you saying, go USA, go USA, get your debt paid so you pay me back, get your things straight so I can get my money, right? Okay, so he says debt is a blessing because this is going to allow people to now support you or be naysayers. Support you. So do y'all get 8, why debt is a blessing? Alright, what we're going to look at is number 3 on here. How did Hamilton propose we would pay off this debt? 2 things. One, the government would put a tariff on imports coming in from other nations. We would charge them money to be selling in our nation. That would make foreign goods more expensive. And the other thing was an excise tax. What was he going to tax? He was going to tax whiskey. Y'all remember that in y'all study guide? This is going to lead to the Whiskey Rebellion. He's going to tax whiskey. And you have to understand why farmers were making whiskey out of their grain. And why it's in Pennsylvania. We know Pennsylvania is our breadbasket. But for farmers, have you ever seen those bales of hay? And I'm just going to draw one. It's like usually a circle, right? And is this very difficult to take to market? Yes, because back then you had to get your little horse, right? There's my horse. You had to put it on a little thing for the horse to take. This is just my bad drawing. Okay? And was this going to take time? This is a very bad horse. Okay? This was going to take time. Could you lose some money on the way to market? And so what a lot of farmers did, instead of taking their grain to market like this, they would distill it into whiskey. And now you can put that in a barrel, right? I can't draw barrels very well. There's my little barrel. And can this transport a little bit easier? Yes. So were they doing this because they wanted to produce a luxury good, or were they doing this because it was cheaper? And now they're being taxed on it. Are they happy? So the excise tax, many farmers felt that this was hurting them because they converted their grain into liquor to reduce the grain's bulk for shipment. And y'all saw on question 16, the Whiskey Rebellion was flared up in Pennsylvania because they were upset with Hamilton's excise tax. And we see the issue that they had was that these pioneer folks were upset that they were getting taxed for something that became a necessity in their life. So they were gonna all muster up an army, right? And march down. But there's a little bit difference between this and Shays, right? In Shays, there was the Articles of Confederation. Was there a government to be able to deal with them? However, now under the Whiskey Rebellion, is there a government to deal with them? And so when they hear the army is coming and George Washington has sent them, these guys, are they going to stay there? No. And so when the army gets to Pennsylvania, was there much of a rebellion left? No, it was minuscule. A lot of y'all wrote that. It was minuscule because they all freaked out and left. Did it prove that the Constitution worked? Last thing is that he's going to establish a bank. This is the answer to number 15. A lot of you just told me that it was chartered for 20 years, but this bank provided a safe depository for the federal funds, and it would make it easier for the government and private individuals to borrow money. Who do you think is going to be able to borrow money, the rich or the poor? The rich, and it would own 1/5 of the stock. The government would own it. Again, this is going to be very pro-rich. And so many people looked at the bank saying that this is not constitutional. So what clause is he using? to stretch the Constitution. The elastic clause, which on your study guide is called the necessary and proper clause. So Hamilton's plan did do stuff. It did firmly establish our nation's credit. The revenue needs are met. We're taxing and we're having duties. Commerce and industry are stimulated because they could borrow from the bank. The government wants support of the rich, influential businessman, and it influenced the development of political parties. That is what is on the back side of this note, which I'll get to in a second. Okay, so 17 on your study guide. It says, why did parties develop? It's because of the resentment of Hamilton's revenue-raising policies. So, if we flip over, here are political parties. I want you to tell me which one is Jose involved. Is he the one that wants a weak central government or a strong central government? Weak. And so Emmanuel is the strong one, right? I'm going to go over this next time because I know I have like a minute before the bell rings.